Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley, and welcome to Steelers Almighty, fastest growing Steelers channel on YouTube, people. And that's all because of you guys. I want to thank you guys for that. We got a great show for you guys today, man. First up, the tackles are the key. The Pittsburgh Steelers have two new tackles, one both at new positions. We'll get into the technical side of it, but Broderick and Troy, they got to come up big. They got to come up big. Then next up, Alex Highsmith. He needs to have a big year this season. You know, Highsmith has been solid, but we'll break down some of the reasons on why he's got to have a big year this year. Then next up is Pat Freiermuth. It's time to let Pat Freiermuth cook. Pat Freiermuth has to start cooking, ladies and gentlemen. We need him to, first of all, he needs to be utilized more, but we also need him to step up when his number is called a little bit more as well. But we'll talk about Pat Freiermuth. And then last but definitely not least, we're talking about the five best Pittsburgh Steelers teams that did not win a Super Bowl. Again, that did not win a Super Bowl. So make sure you guys stick around for that because you're going to like that. So, again, thank everybody for showing up. You can find us on YouTube, obviously, at youtube.com/Steelers Almighty. Anywhere you have social media, make sure you check out Steelers Almighty there. And if you prefer the audio version of this podcast, anywhere that you get a podcast, you can get Steelers Almighty. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in those comments like you always do, and hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Steelers Almighty content comes out. Let's get into this, people. So first things first, the Steelers tackles have to play big. Now, and again, I talked about this. It's not like they haven't played. You know, Troy Fautanu played a football game last year, played pretty well in that football game. Broderick Jones, he's played basically a year and a half of football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Decent his first year, lousy his second year. Big position change. So let's start with Troy first. You know, he's got to stay healthy. You know, there were some injury concerns earlier in his career in college, but his last 2 years he played, he was healthy. But then he got hurt twice last year, twice in a matter of, I don't know, 6 weeks time, and the second one put him out for the whole year. It was it was troubling to say the least, got hurt in the first preseason game, gets healthy, starts the game against the Denver Broncos, and then in practice blows his knee out, and that's the end of it. So basically, it was a redshirt year for him. Got a little action, got some practice time, knows how to be a professional now, you would hope. Not that he wasn't a professional last year. I'm not saying that. But, it's an adjustment period for everybody. And it looks like that he might be, from what everybody says, he's ready to go. Now, again, we're not going to know anything until you get out on the football field. But if he just plays like he played that one game last year, the Steelers upgraded at right tackle. Again, I'm not saying he's got to go out there and play phenomenal, but if he just literally plays like he played in the one game that he played last year, if he does that all year, the Steelers upgraded at the right tackle spot by a wide margin. The troubling part is that's how bad Broderick was. So let's get to Broderick. Broderick is moving over to the left side. I've said it on many occasions. I think Broderick Jones is the most talented offensive lineman that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. Just raw talent, power, athleticism. And on occasions, when you see him do it correctly, it's incredible. And I'm going to continue to say these things about him because they're true. But last year, the lack of effort, the lack of want to, the attention to details, all those things, they just weren't there. Or I guess, let me say this. All those things you saw out of him last year, which is a problem, not getting off on the snap count, not necessarily knowing which way to go. I mean, there was one time you saw Broderick do a pirouette trying to block a guy. I'm like, what are we doing? So he's got the ability, but now he's got to put it out there. And I've said this over and over again, and I'm going to keep saying it because people always want to give him the excuse of, well, he's a left tackle and it's hard to play right tackle. Man, he was fine as a rookie playing right tackle. He was fine. I'm not saying he was great, but he was fine. He took 2 steps back last year, and everybody knows that, including him. Big year for him. Big year for him, because if it doesn't work out this year, the Steelers will be going into the draft next year to look for another left tackle. I can 100% assure you of that, because they're not going to sit around and just wait for this guy if he can't play. This is his opportunity. And I'll be honest with you, people, I think he can do it. Now, look, he was the 14th overall pick. They moved up to get him. Fautanu, 20th pick, fell because, again, some of that older injury history. But both of these guys, if this pans out, the Steelers have a good line. I'm just telling you. And this is what they're going to need to do to have a good season. I've said it over and over, and I'll keep repeating it. It isn't that they have to play phenomenal football. Just give us average. If you give us average, the Steelers are better, because we didn't get average play out of our tackles last year. Dan Moore, God bless him, the second half of the season could have been some of the worst football from an offensive tackle that any of us have seen. It was atrocious, to say the least. Just a terrible way to end his career as a Pittsburgh Steeler, but we had seen it all before. I know early in the year we thought, man, Dan Moore's got it together. Second half of the year, it was the same old Dan Moore. He got paid, but it wasn't by us. So God bless him for getting paid, but it's time for the Steelers to move on. Obviously, they did, and it's time for Broderick and Troy to step up. You know, that is the thing. The one thing is former NFL linebacker, or lineman, excuse me, not linebacker, going crazy here. Ross Tucker, he talked about it, and he likes Fautanu. He actually likes what Fautanu has to, or what he brings to the table. Now, again, it's hard to judge off of one game. You know, you see a guy, he's out there one game, but Ross Tucker may have seen some practice film and likes what he sees. He likes what he sees. Again, not a lot of tape out there on him right now, but he likes what he sees. The flip side to that is he's troubled by Broderick. And the reason that he's troubled is, like I said, it's a lot of the effort issues and the want to type of stuff. I feel like Broderick was just discouraged, didn't win the job in the offseason like he thought he was going to. Team moved him to right tackle and wanted to keep him at right tackle. Well, I think that maybe all of it got in his head, had a little injury. I think we all knew that he was hurt. But again, y'all know my rule. Don't give you a pass for being injured. Don't give you that. Being injured doesn't mean that you're allowed to play bad football. I just don't believe that. Not saying that, you're going to be 100% at your best, but that doesn't also mean that, oh, I'm hurt, so I get to play bad football. And Broderick, that was bad football, especially early in the year. My goodness, it was just atrocious football. But they got a chance. They got a chance. And that's the thing is that we get a fresh start. If they can be healthy, get in the playbook, understand what's going on, they got a chance, because both of these guys are ultra talented. They are ultra talented, athletic, powerful. And if they can get it together, stay healthy, and keep it together both physically and mentally, the Steelers have a pair of really good tackles, people. So, but they are the key to the season. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. I say the offensive line in general, but to me, when you break that down another layer and peel back that onion, it's the tackles. It is the tackles. So let's go to the poll. Let's go to that poll question. Poll number 1, which tackle are you more excited to see in their new role for the Steelers in 2025? A, Broderick Jones moving over to left tackle, or B, Troy Fautanu finally healthy as a starter? Make sure when you answer the poll question, if you answer A, make sure you put 1A so we know exactly what poll question you guys are answering. I'll be interested to see what you guys say about this one. You know, I think a lot of people are going to say Broderick, but we didn't really get to see anything from Troy last year, so I'll be interested what you guys say. Let's move on. So our main man, Alex Highsmith, plays opposite TJ Watt. We'll get into that here in a second. But Alex Highsmith got to have a big year this year, you know, and there's a couple of reasons why, and we're going to break all that down. First and foremost, let's talk about he's got to stay healthy. Okay. Now, he's not a guy that usually misses a bunch of games or anything like that over his career. Last year, he got hurt twice. You know, he got hurt, what was it, 3 games? Well, first off, he got hurt in the offseason. You know, in the preseason, he had that growing injury. And then it flared up, you know, on week 3. You know, he missed 3 games. And because again, growing injuries, you can't rush those. They are what they are. And he was hurt going into camp. He got hurt then, like right as camp started, I should say. And maybe it never healed all season. I don't know, but he did miss 3 games, and when he hurt it again in week 3. Then he comes back playing decent football, and then you all saw that terrible ankle injury against the Commanders in week 10. That was ugly. That's one of those where he's putting all his weight on that foot and his ankle just turned. I thought it was worse. I think everybody thought, oh my God, his ankle's broken. But luckily it wasn't. And he was able to come back. You know, he missed 2 games, which to me was incredible. Because like I said, when you first saw it, you're like, yeah, this guy's out. I mean, he's going to be out. So he missed a few games there. But he came back, and in all intents and purposes, he played 11 games last year. Now, one of them, again, he didn't play much, so it's tough. But he didn't have a terrible year. So then the question is, oh, well, what are you talking about then, Big B? Why does he have to have such a big year? Well, here's the reason. You know, I get on Mika Fitzpatrick and the Pittsburgh Steelers coaching staff and management because you're paying Mika Fitzpatrick $18 million to just be a safety and just the back line of defense. Don't have him in there making plays anymore, which I fully believe he's capable of doing, even though a lot of you out there, or some of you, I shouldn't say a lot of you, some of you out there doesn't believe that he's capable of. Okay. But they're doing that. Well, you look at Alex Highsmith, and Alex Highsmith this year is getting $13 million. He signed that big deal. And again, I don't pocket watch. I want Alex Highsmith to make a $500 million a year if he could. You know, so I'm not mad about the money that he makes. I'm mad that, okay, if you're making this kind of money, we need to see more. The difference with Minka is the Steelers are putting him in positions to where he can't make plays. You know, you're putting Minka in positions to where he's not going to be, you know, breaking up a ton of passes. They used him as the last line of defense. So that guy isn't going to be in there with sticking his nose in a bunch of stuff. He's not going to be out there making a ton of plays. It's just the nature of that. Alex Highsmith, on the other hand, Alex Highsmith is put in a perfect situation. I mentioned it at the top of this, plays across from TJ Watt. Look, as good as a player as Alex Highsmith is, he isn't TJ Watt. And teams' focus isn't going to be on shutting down Alex Highsmith over trying to shut down TJ Watt. That's just not going to happen. Now, some of the stuff, as far as Alex Highsmith is concerned, is scheme. There is no question the schematics of the Pittsburgh Steelers is about as vanilla on defense as you get. No twisting, no stunting, no blitzing, no nothing. Just line up, beat your guy. Well, okay, that's going to work from time to time, but in the NFL, they do allow you to trick them. They do allow you to do some things that everybody doesn't know what you're going to do. They allow for that, which if that means you got to line up and move Minka, or not, excuse me, not Minka, but Highsmith to one side and put him on the same side as TJ Watt, then do it. Vice versa. Or you got to move them around. So whatever. Do something different. Make teams have to figure out where guys are. So that's one of the things that they have to help Alex Highsmith make plays. But he has to help himself too. Now, look, the Steelers drafted Jack Sawyer. And I was the first person, maybe the first person that thought, why are we drafting this guy in the fourth round? Like, there's other things that we needed in the fourth round that we could have gotten versus Jack Sawyer, who, with all intents and purposes, is going to be the fourth outside linebacker on the Steelers team this year. Well, if he develops and maybe all the limitations that I saw as far as his athleticism and quickness, maybe some of that is going to translate to the NFL. Maybe he's going to be able to be a difference maker at the NFL. I sure the hell hope he is. I hope he proves me 100% wrong. That is what I'm rooting for out of Jack Sawyer. So maybe that's the plan. And maybe Highsmith will be on the trading block. Because again, $13 million for 6 or 7 sacks, that's not getting it done, people. Again, as much as I love Alex Highsmith, we need 60 tackles and at least 9 sacks out of that guy. 6 or 7 is not going to cut it. Now, again, I say that like getting a sack in the National Football League is some easy thing to do. It isn't. It's not easy at all. But they're paying you. And if they're paying you, you're expecting results. A guy making that kind of money, making, 7 sacks, it just doesn't compute. You know what I'm saying? It's like where I know the new thing is, well, the math ain't mathing. Well, it doesn't. We need more. I'm sorry to say, and maybe it's a lot of pressure, or maybe it's unfair, or, oh, come on, Big B, like you're too hard on Highsmith. No, I'm not. $13 million, that can't equal 7 sacks. Now, I think he was on his way to getting more than that last year, and he got hurt. So hopefully he continues that trend because he had 6 last year and he missed 6 games, so, and parts of another, with the injury. So if you look at it from that perspective, but again, you got to stay healthy. Nobody roots for you to get hurt and nobody wants anybody to get hurt. Players don't want to get hurt, but injuries are part of football, unfortunately, and we need him to be on the field. Having Sawyer there may help him be more fresh. So if Sawyer can actually play, which I think he's going to be able to, people, I think Sawyer's going to prove me wrong, which is great because then he can be out there for more snaps, which is going to leave Alex Highsmith, and TJ Watt. It's going to leave those guys fresher when we need them to be fresh, which is what we want. Depth is never a bad thing. It has never been a bad thing on a football team. But we need Alex Highsmith to step up. And the one thing is, you talk about Jack Sawyer, I'm bringing him up a lot in this is because, look, Highsmith doesn't have any more guaranteed money on his contract. That means something, people. That means something. No more guaranteed money. The hit that they take with the salary cap for Alex Highsmith, you look at the numbers, I'm like, well, next year, if you designate him a post-June 1st trade, it's $14 million that they'll save. He's a $20 million cap hit. They would have $5 million in dead money, and they could save $14.5 million on the cap. Look, it's either a restructure or it's a trade for Alex Highsmith. I would love it to be a restructure. For that to happen, got to have a good season. He's got to have a good season. If not, the Steelers got to think about moving him because you can use that money somewhere else. If 7 sacks is what you're getting for that kind of money, it's not worth it. That's a harsh thing to say. People are going to disagree, but those are the hard facts. It's just a hard reality, man. You can't pay somebody $14 million or $13 million to get you 7 sacks. You got to do more. We got to do more, especially in the position that you're in when you play across from the best edge rusher, at least one of them, in football. So you can't miss on that. You got to be able to take the advantage of those situations. Now, partly, again, like I mentioned before, the schematics of it all, because teams figured out the Steelers last year. We can use a tight end, chip TJ. We use a back, chip Alex Highsmith, and then we'll double team inside on Cam, and your other guy can't beat us. And since you guys don't stunt, twist, blitz, you don't do anything different, this is what we're going to do to block you. Pretty simple. It's for NFL guys to do it. It got even simpler when TJ got hurt at the end of last year, teams didn't even have to chip him. Then they started chipping Highsmith. And then we got no outside pass rush. So we need more out of Alex. And I got a good feeling, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to, because I think he feels the pressure. I think he feels like, okay, enough's enough. I got to get this done. I think a season Alex Highsmith, we may be looking at double-digit sacks. I sure hope we do. Let's go to the poll question, people. All right. Poll number 2. Do you think that Alex Highsmith can reach 60-plus tackles and 9-plus sacks this season? A, yes, he can do it with a fully healthy season. Or B, no, the rotation with Herbig and Sawyer will eat into his snaps. Tough question. Tough question, because I guess my question is, if you say B, are those guys being productive? Because if they're not being productive, then we damn sure don't need those guys eating into Highsmith snaps if they're not being productive out there. So there's that. There is that. Again, A or B, make sure you put a number in front of your answer so we know exactly which poll question is coming. Getting to the halftime here, people. Appreciate you all. Number one, thank you for all the support in making Steelers Almighty the fastest growing, Steelers channel on YouTube. We appreciate you guys. Supers are obviously one way that you guys have helped support the channel. But just consistently showing up and showing love, hitting the like button, and commenting. That is obviously another way that you guys have helped support the channel. So I appreciate you guys a ton. The one thing that's going to happen here, memberships. Memberships that are available, they're going to start changing. We needed to make some changes to our membership packages, and so we're doing that. When that happens, remember this, it's going to end up wiping away. Like anytime you make a change on YouTube with memberships, it deletes all your members and they have to sign up again. So be on the lookout for that, because that is going to happen, and we obviously will let you know, but just to keep that in mind. And the changes that we're going to make are going to be to your benefit. So that's another just little nugget out there. Again, don't be too worried about it, but the changes that we're going to make are going to be to your benefit. And when we do make the changes, people that are already members, you'll have to sign up again. So just want to put that nugget out there, and we will let you know. But remember, like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you want to become a member, the link is in the chat. Also, it's going to be on the front of the page. You can sign up 5 different levels to become a member. So we appreciate you guys. Let's get back to it. All right. So Pat Freiermuth. We got to let Muth cook, man. We got to let this guy cook. Here's the thing. He led the team in receptions last year. It was second in yards. He had 65 catches, 653 yards. But here's the skinny on that. 38 yards a game. Just over 38 yards a game. It's not enough. It's not enough. I would say if the Steelers had a legitimate wide receiver number 2, then I would say, okay, yeah, I can see that. That guy's got 900, another guy's got 1,000, tight end. Okay, because there's a lot of mouths to feed. But Freiermuth was basically the number 2. Like I said, he led the team in receptions and was second in yardage and first in touchdowns. He had 7 touchdowns. So he was basically your wide receiver number 2. 38 yards a game isn't going to cut it for that. I'm sorry. Now, I'm not saying that you got to average, 100 yards a game as the second, receiving option. I'm not saying that. But 38 yards, that's not going to work. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, come on, B, they don't throw the ball over the middle of the field. You're 1,000,000% correct. One, Mike Tomlin didn't like throwing the ball over the middle of the field and came out and said so, which, again, different conversation for a different day, but you don't like throwing the ball over the middle of the field. 2, Justin Fields it was a refusal to throw the ball over the middle of the field. Again, doing the all 22s like I'm doing over every single game. And again, if you're a member, you can catch those at 4th level or higher. But Justin Fields would be staring at, there's so many times he's just looking at Muth run open over the middle of the field, and he just doesn't throw him the football. He just holds it and goes somewhere else with it. If I've seen that in the games that we've covered already once, I've seen it 15 times, and we're halfway through the season so far in our film review. It is insane. So that's another thing. Russell Wilson has never been, throwing over the middle of the field has never been his thing. So to ask him to change after so many years, I think was asking too much, because that's just not something that he was capable or comfortable with doing. So he didn't. He didn't do that. But they have to be able to get Muth the football. They got to be able to get him the ball in the seams, over the middle. Even if it's just a quick 3-yard, 5-yard stop. Okay, I'm open right over the middle in front of the linebackers. Fine. A quick 5 yards. Teams do that all the time. Instead of running the football, they're just like, you know what? Let me just throw it to the tight end. Let's get an easy 5 yards. Basically trying to steal 5 yards from the defense. When's the last time you seen the Steelers do that? Or because if they do it now, they're trying to throw an out route and then all the timing and all that. I'm like, man, just let the tight end just run in between both linebackers, stop 4 or 5 yards down the field, catch the football, and get tackled. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Arthur Smith has to be able to get him more involved. And that's part of the problem. I know a lot of people clamor for Mount Washington. I get that. But Mount Washington is basically an extension of the line. He is a blocker. Can he do some things in the passing game? Yes, he absolutely can. But this is the receiving tight end is Pat Freiermuth. You got to get that guy involved. Get him the football. See what he can do now. As far as blocking, Freiermuth, look, he is what he is. If he can just get in the way and then cut off on the backside and just bother people, for me, that's enough. He is never going to be a good blocker. He is never going to be an average blocker. He is a below average blocker. But again, just get in the way and cut people off on the backside. Too many times we see Pat Freiermuth they're running outside zone or a power, off tackle power. And Freiermuth is responsible for double teaming a guy and coming off. I'm like, just put him on the backside. Okay? Just put him on the backside. It's okay to put Washington over there and let him be the front side linebacker. It's okay. All right? I know that, we're trying to trick people and, you can't just be too predictable. Or you can get the play blown up because Freiermuth's 3 yards in the backfield because he can't block the guy. Now, which would you rather have? That's my only thing is stop being stubborn. You can be too smart for yourself. People know that. Think about Shannon Sharp back in the day. He wasn't lining up play side blocking anybody for Terrell Davis. He wasn't doing that. He was backside cutting guys off because that's what he could do. So you just do that. It is what it is, people. It is what it is. Does he need to improve? Of course he does. But you also have to accept that he's just never going to be a good blocker. He's never going to even be an average blocker. And that's okay. That's okay. Just utilize him for the strengths that he has and go from there. So, but he also has to get more physical when he catches the ball. I know we all remember that playoff game last year against Baltimore. Lord Jesus. 3rd and 1. They throw him the football. He can't turn up the field to get an inch. Some people, the ball took. I go, come on, man. You got to be an athlete. First of all, you could run the route another yard further. You could have done that. But 2, you got to be able to break a tackle, be more physical as a tight end. You got to be able to do that. So hopefully Muth gets more opportunities this year. Again, he led the team in receptions last year, which is good. But we just need more, And the 3-yard out route is not the same as a 5-yard stop route. It's not the same. Not the same. Because they tend to run those little 3-yard out routes when it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, and we don't get a first down. When on first down, you could just run a quick little stop route to him, get tackled, and steal those 4 yards. So I want to see him use Muth more. He can be a really good tight end if he's utilized better. He really can. Let's go to the poll question, people. So poll number 3 is, what percentage of the targets do you think that the tight ends should get this season. So what is the percentage that the Pittsburgh Steelers tight end should get this season? Now, the league average, as you can see there in 2024, was 21%. So what do you believe the Steelers should get? A, 20%, B, 25%, C, 30%, or D, 35 plus? And as a kicker, the Steelers got, just so you understand, they were at 24% last season. So they were at 24%. Do you think that percentage should go down, stay basically the same, go up, or really go up? So good question there. All right, let's move on. Okay, people, fun time here. Pittsburgh Steelers. What are the best 5 Steeler teams that did not, let me repeat, did not win a Super Bowl? Now, this is based on what I believe. Feel free, if you think there's other teams, get in the comments section and let me know. But we're going from 5 to 1. So basically, the 5 best. And at the end of this, I'm going to tell you who I think is the best Pittsburgh Steeler team that did not win a Super Bowl. So let's get into it. Number 5, 1994. Those Pittsburgh Steelers, they were 12-4. They lost in the AFC Championship to the San Diego Chargers. I know a lot of you all remember that game, home against Pittsburgh. We were on the damn goal line and could not score. Unbelievable. Ended up losing 17-13. Look, the Steelers had a really good football team that year. They had 5 first or second team All-Pros. 4 of them were first team. 3 of those were on defense. They had the running back tandem. Rookie, our main man, Bam Morris and Barry Foster. They combined for over 1,680 yards, 13 touchdowns. So the Steelers, again, typical. They're running that football. They were running that football. You know, the team, they also had a crazy defense that year, 55 sacks. That is an insane amount of sacks, but you go back and you start looking. You're like, well, who is the defensive coordinator? Well, you had Don Capers on that staff. You had Dick LeBeau on that staff. They had Marvin Lewis. I know you don't like Marvin Lewis, but Marvin Lewis as a coordinator and as a position coach was pretty damn good. Those are the guys that were coaching this football team. They were outstanding defensively. Kevin Green led the league. He had 14 sacks. One of my favorite players, not my favorite on this team, was Greg Lloyd. I used to love me some Greg Lloyd. He had 10 sacks. Greg Lloyd had a bad attitude, which I loved, played extremely hard, was mean as all get out. I loved me some Greg Lloyd. They won the division, had home field advantage, but the quarterback, Neil O'Donnell, I mean, look, he was fine. He was fine, until that Super Bowl the next year, but I'm not going to talk about that. But Neil O'Donnell was fine. He was just a pedestrian. His numbers were pretty solid. But that was a big upset to lose, or I should say a big heartbreak to lose to the Chargers the way that we did. But that football team, outstanding football team, people. I've got them at number 5. Number 4, 2004 Pittsburgh Steelers. You remember this team, 15-1, lost in the AFC Championship game to New England, 41-27. This team, ultra talented. If you remember, this is the team that Ben Roethlisberger took over. Our starter at the time, Tommy Maddox. Boy, the Steelers just, outside of Big Ben and Bradshaw, we just can't get away from mediocre quarterbacking. Tommy Maddox. Oh, my God. But he was the quarterback. He gets hurt. Ben takes over and then wins 13 consecutive games after that, which is still a record for a rookie quarterback. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And look, it's not like Big Ben went out there and threw for 4,000 yards. They were pretty protective of him, but he did his thing. The team was loaded with talent. And you're going to hear me say that over and over again because the Steelers, these teams, the Steelers had just crazy talent. This one had 9 Pro Bowlers. Ben, he was the offensive rookie of the year. The bus. And remember Deuce Staley. Deuce Staley was part of that Pittsburgh Steelers team. Him and the bus, they combined for over 1,700 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns. The crazy thing about that is that the bus had 13 of those. They both had pretty close to the same number of yards as far as rushing, like I said, and they combined for over 1,700, 14 touchdowns. You would think, okay, maybe the bus has 8 or 9. No, he had 13 of the 14. Just insane numbers for Jerome Bettis. Defense, again, good again, 39 sacks, 19 interceptions. They were also the number one defense in the league that year. So, but it didn't end great. Aaron Smith, he led the team. He had 9 sacks. But here's the thing, man. If you all remember that AFC Championship game, they didn't let Ben Roethlisberger really do much. They were so predictable. We get mad at Mike Tomlin and all his predictability. They didn't have Ben Roethlisberger throw the ball on first or second down in the entire first half of football. And by the time they said, okay, Ben, we need you to do something, the Steelers were getting their head beaten in. So that was also that game where Rodney Harrison returned a touchdown for 87 yards, or returned an interception for a touchdown, I should say. And that was the end of that game. Steelers were knocking on the door to get back in it. And that happened, and that's all she wrote. So ugly, but that team was really good, though. 2004, that football team was outstanding. Got them at number 4. Number 3, 2016, lost an AFC Championship game. Look, again, the Patriots did it to us again. But that team, if you remember, they didn't start off great. They were 4-5. They ended up winning their last 7 games. They won the division, was the second out of 30. I mean, that team was loaded. Think about it. It was killer bees. They had Ben. They had Le'Veon Bell. They had AB. They had Mike Pouncey. It's not Mike, but Marquise, Pouncey. They had David DeCastro. Really underrated offensive lineman for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really underrated. Pouncey gets a lot of the pub, and he should. He absolutely should. Pouncey's going to be a Hall of Famer. But I'm not sure that David DeCastro is that far off as far as talent. He was very good and super underrated. But we also had Timmons. We had Harrison. We had Bud Dupree, who was really good at the time. We also had Ryan Shazier. So, but this team got hurt because they had a lack of depth at wide receiver. Remember, that was Martavius Bryant got suspended and was out for the year. And Martavius Bryant, I know Steeler fans, you remember, he was good. He was tall. You could throw goal balls to him, 50-50. You could hit a quick slant, and he could take it the distance. Martavius Bryant was very good as a Pittsburgh Steeler, but he wasn't there, and they couldn't replace him. But another thing that the Steelers struggled with was the secondary. Oh, my God. You think about that secondary. Our main man, Artie Burns, had his best year. That was his rookie year. He was out there. And you think about that. Justin Gilbert was out there. Ross Cockrell. So Justin Gilbert, Artie Burns, Ross Cockrell. I don't think I have to say a whole lot more. That's what the Pittsburgh Steelers were putting out there as far as a secondary. So, but this team, again, it stung the way that we lost. Not that all of them don't sting, but this one eventually didn't sting as much then. Well, I mean, it did, but then it hurt more later on because this is the last team that Dan Rooney was in charge of because he died in April of 2016. So it's basically the end of an era, because Dan Rooney, look, is there an executive better than him? Maybe his father. But other than that, I mean, this man was responsible for so much, but it was the end of an era. We didn't know it at the time, but it was tough loss. Tough loss. Moving on. Number 2. Again, of Pittsburgh Steelers, for anybody who's just jumping in, we are counting down the 5 teams of the Pittsburgh Steelers that did not win a Super Bowl. Number 2, I've got the 2017 Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, this team, you talk about disappointing. You see the picture. Blake Bortles beat the damn Pittsburgh Steelers on the road in the playoffs. 2 years later, Blake Bortles, what is he even in football? Oh my goodness. Oh, it was so brutal, man. Look, this team was great. They finished 13-3. Again, Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell was. If I think Le'Veon Bell at the time was the best running back in football with everything he could do. AB, Ryan Shazier, Cam Hayward's on this play. But here's the thing: there's two plays in this season that kind of defined this team and maybe set the path of what was happening. Is that one, Ryan Shazier's tragedy where he got hurt on that Monday night game against Cincinnati. Hell, has the defense recovered since? I mean, like, seriously, have we even recovered since he got hurt? We haven't been able to find his replacement. So that's the turning point for me as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Ryan Shazier, in my opinion, was on his way to being one of the best linebackers in football. He was already at the time in the top 5. A lot of people said he was in the top 3 at the time. Could cover, could hit, good against the run. The man was incredible. And he was just coming into his own. Absolute tragedy. And then this is also the year of the old Jesse James no catch against New England. Y'all remember that? He caught the ball, turns around, dives for the end zone. Ball hits the ground as he's diving into the end zone after he's caught it and turned. Remember, hey, make a football move. Last time I checked a football play, if I catch it and I turn around, that's a football move. Not against the Patriots. It's not fumble. Or not fumble, but incomplete pass. Ben throws a pick the next play. Game over. Steelers, they don't get home field advantage in the playoffs because of that game. End up playing the Jaguars a game earlier than what they needed to and got beat by Blake Bortles. Yeah. Like I said, that team was ultra talented, but they never recovered. And, the team didn't recover. The defense damn sure didn't recover after Shazier got hurt. So as good as what they were, we saw it. And I've talked about this on several times. As bad as the offense looks now, that's how bad the defense was then. That's the difference. So for anybody that doesn't know or maybe doesn't remember, think about how good that Steelers offense was. And we lost 45-42 to Blake Bortles and the Jacksonville Jaguars because we could not stop a soul. Couldn't stop them. Lord have mercy. Just unbelievable bad defense. But it is what it is. But that team was ultra talented, people. That team was ultra talented. And then the best team, the number one team of the Pittsburgh Steelers that did not win a Super Bowl. For most Steeler fans, this is an easy one. Easy one. Is the Pittsburgh Steelers of 1976. Look, they didn't start off great, but they won. This team, they lost in the AFC Championship game to the Raiders, 24-7. So it was a stacked roster. Let me just break down this. They had a stacked roster. They had 12 Pro Bowlers and 5 All-Pros on the team. Okay? 12 Pro Bowlers and 5 All-Pros. The All-Pros, get a load of this, Jack Ham, first-team All-Pro. Jack Lambert, first-team All-Pro. Mean Joe Green, first-team All-Pro. Mike Wagner, safety, first-team All-Pro. So basically, yeah. Oh, and Glenn Edwards. So Glenn Edwards was first team. Mike Wagner was second team. So you had both linebackers and both safeties made first or second team All-Pro were on that team. That's how good that damn defense was. Of 11 guys on a defense, 5 of those guys. Well, let me take that back. 4 of those guys played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then the second team had 1 guy. That's how good the defense was. Absolutely insane. Now, this is another year. If you remember. Now, I don't remember, obviously, because in 1976, I was 1 year old. But Terry Bradshaw damn near got killed by Turkey Jones. I don't know if you all remember. If you've seen the YouTube, go check that out. Go check out Turkey Jones, he damn near killed. He played for the Browns. He almost killed Terry Bradshaw. Literally. Slammed him on his head. Bradshaw missed 6 games. Just, brutal. A lot of people say it's the most brutal tackle in the history of the National Football League. Just, it was late, picks him up, turns him around, and slams him upside down on his head, neck. It just, but he was out 6 games. However, rookie, and I think it's pronounced Krujzak. And if it's not, crush me in the comments and tell me what it is. But he came in 6-0 as a rookie, as a replacement for Terry Bradshaw, and kept the ship rolling. Jack Lambert was the defensive player of the year. 2 running backs, not one, 2 running backs that year ran for over 1,000 yards. You had Franco Harris. He had 1,128 yards, 14 touchdowns. Rocky Bleier, with the shrapnel in his feet, ran for 1,036 yards and 5 touchdowns. So they didn't have one. They had 2 backs go for 1,000 yards. And that was during the time when, again, your quarterback's out. You know you got to run the football, and they were still able to run the football effectively and win games. So the defense, come on, this is how you get created, the steel curtain defense. All right. They gave up 28 points in the last 9 games after they started the season 1-4. Think about that for a second. 28 total points over the last 9 football games, people. Come on. Who did that? That is insane. 28 points? But unfortunately, they couldn't overcome in the AFC Championship game. They lose, like I mentioned. They lost to the Raiders 24-7. But Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier did not play in that football game due to injuries. So, your 2,000-yard back, hey, you get one of them hurt. Okay, we got another one. We can figure this out. Both of those guys are out and not playing? Yeah, it makes it difficult. It makes it difficult. And the thing that really stings about that is, if you talk to most people that are Steeler fans that were around back then and can remember, if you talk to basically every player from that era that played on those football teams, to a man, they will tell you that the 1976 team was the best team of that era. They'll tell you that. That was the best team. Defense was crazy. The offense was good. That was the best team. But again, when your thing is ball control and you're down to your 3rd string running back because your first 2,000-yard rushers can't play in a game. Oh, by the way, the Raiders were pretty damn good. So it's not like the Raiders were just like the Browns. Sorry, Browns fans, you needed to take that straight. But yeah, it's not like they were the Browns. It was the Raiders. The Raiders were good. So, not to mention the Steelers were trying to win 3 straight Super Bowls, and they got back to the AFC Championship game, just couldn't get it done. So, in my opinion, that is the best Pittsburgh Steelers team that did not win a Super Bowl, the 1976 team. Let's go to the poll, ladies and gentlemen. 4th and final poll. Which of these legendary Steelers teams do you believe had the best chance of winning a Super Bowl but ultimately fell short? A, 1976, B, 1994, C, 2004, and D, 2016. Remember to put a number before the letter so we know exactly which poll question you are answering. Look, pivotal for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. I keep mentioning the offensive line. You probably are like, come on, Big B, talk about something else. We know the line's important. I'm going to keep talking about it because I want to keep stressing it, because the national media is not going to tell us that. The national media is only going to focus on the quarterback situation. That's all they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about how our quarterback room is not any good. The only way that we can do anything is if we get Aaron Rodgers. And I'm just telling you right now, that isn't the case. Do I believe Rodgers improves the team? Yes, he does. But if the line stinks, I don't care who's the quarterback. The team isn't going to be any good. If the line plays average, and I want to stress average, I'm not saying they got to be world. Give me anywhere between the 12th and the 16th best offensive line in the league. If the Steelers do that, they're going to have a good football team. I'm just telling you, they're going to have a good football team. So it doesn't have to be a top 10 or a top 5 offensive line. It doesn't, especially if we can play defense the way that we should be able to, because we'll be able to run the football. We'll be able to protect better. We'll be able to hold on to the football longer to give that defense a rest, things that it did not get last year that they desperately need. So that is the key to the season. And again, I know that I keep talking about it ad nauseum, but I want to contradict what everybody's talking about in the national media. Yes, quarterback is important, but the offensive line is what's going to make or break the season this year for the Steelers. In other years, you can say something different. But this particular season, it's on those guys. It's on those guys. So that's all I got for you guys today, man. I appreciate everybody being here like you always have been since we started this thing a little over, what is it now? 15, almost 16 months now. So, or no, not that long. 12, 13, 14 months, almost 14 months now. So appreciate you guys being here, man. Thank you as always. Remember, continue to get in those comment sections, but like, follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We appreciate you guys, and aloha.